Okay, so how does Las Vegas actually make its money? The obvious answer is sitting under the lights. Slot machines, table games, chips moving across green felt, and thousands of people paying for the chance to leave with more than they brought in. From the outside, Las Vegas looks like one giant casino with hotels attached to it. But in the most recent full fiscal year report, for the major casino licensees on the Strip, gambling was not the largest revenue department. Rooms were. That does not mean the casino floor stopped mattering. It means the city is selling something larger than a bet, and the easiest way to see it is to stop looking at the whole skyline and look at one hotel room on a Tuesday afternoon. The room is empty, the bed has been made, the towels are folded, the air conditioning is running because the desert outside does not care whether a guest checked in. The building has already been constructed, financed, insured, cleaned, staffed, and connected to thousands of other rooms through elevators, hallways, kitchens, loading docks, security systems, and miles of plumbing and wiring. At this point, the room has one job: someone has to sleep in it tonight. Las Vegas had roughly 150,300 hotel rooms in 2025. Spread across a full year, that creates about 54.9 million room nights available for sale. Roughly 44 million were occupied. That leaves around 10.8 million room nights unsold across the year. Not every one of those rooms could have been sold at the average price. Some were being renovated, some may have been held out of service. In some cases, opening another floor may not have made sense at the rate available, but the economic problem is still there. A room that stays empty tonight cannot be placed on a shelf and sold next month. Midnight arrives, the date changes, and that inventory is gone. A Las Vegas hotel is not only competing for customers, it is competing against the clock. Now put one person in that Tuesday room. The guest lands at Harry Reid International Airport, takes a taxi or a rideshare, checks in, pays for the room and the fees attached to it, buys dinner, orders a drink, walks through a shopping area, attends a show or a meeting, maybe gambles, maybe does not, buys coffee the next morning and leaves the room for a housekeeper to turn over again. One person has now produced revenue for an airline, a driver, a hotel, a restaurant, a venue, a retailer, and possibly a casino before the trip is over. That is the first thing most people miss about Las Vegas. The city does not need a separate customer for every business. It needs the same customer to keep making decisions. The average visitor stayed about 3.2 nights in 2025. That is not a long trip, which makes every hour more valuable. The resort has only a few breakfasts, dinners, evenings, and open spaces in the schedule to turn one arrival into several purchases. 81% of surveyed visitors said they gambled during the trip, but their stated gambling budget was not the same thing as the amount they lost. The point is not that every visitor follows the same path. The point is that Las Vegas builds enough different paths that almost every visitor can be monetized more than once. In the fiscal year ending in June of 2025, the major Strip casino licensees covered by Nevada's report generated about $21.1 billion in combined revenue. Rooms produced about 1/3 of it, gaming produced a little more than 1/4, food produced nearly 1/5, beverages and everything else filled out the rest. The room key represented more revenue than the casino floor in the aggregate. Gaming still matters enormously. It remains one of the city's defining products, a major source of revenue, and a powerful reason for many people to visit. But the modern resort does not depend on one transaction. It tries to capture the whole trip, and the value of that trip changes depending on which night the guest arrives. A Saturday night is easy to understand. People travel for weekends, birthdays, concerts, fights, holidays, and short vacations. Demand is already there. Rooms fill, prices rise, restaurants stay busy. The crowd itself becomes part of the attraction. Tuesday is different. The hotel tower does not become smaller because the weekend ended. The restaurants are still built, the kitchens are still equipped, the elevators still move, security still works, interest still accrues, rent still comes due. A billion-dollar resort does not get to become a small business for 3 quiet days and then turn itself back on Friday afternoon. This is where the room on Tuesday becomes more important than the crowd on Saturday. A hotel can lower the price, but a lower price does not create a reason to travel. A cheap empty room is still empty. So Las Vegas had to do something much harder than discount the inventory. It had to manufacture a reason for people to arrive on the wrong day. That is why one of the most important economic decisions in Las Vegas history was not another casino. It was a convention center. In 1955, local leaders created the public tourism body that would eventually become the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. Part of the purpose was direct. bring visitors into town during slow weekday periods. Nevada approved a room tax to help finance a convention center, and the original Las Vegas Convention Center opened in 1959. This was not a decorative civic project added after Las Vegas became successful. It was a solution to an empty room problem. A convention attendee does not need Tuesday to feel exciting. The meeting puts that person in the city. The employer, trade group, or industry chooses the date. The attendee arrives because the event is there, and the city gains a customer precisely when ordinary leisure demand is weaker. Now go back to that hotel room. The guest checking in is wearing a convention badge. The badge sends that person into an exhibit hall during the day, but it also places them in a restaurant that evening. It creates work for the crew assembling the booths, the driver moving equipment, the caterer serving lunch, the technician running sound, the housekeeper cleaning the room, and the hotel employee checking in the next group. In 2025, about 6 million convention attendees came to Las Vegas. The convention center itself hosted 49 qualifying conventions with roughly 1.1 million attendees, before counting public special events or the meetings held inside resort properties. Behind each event is a temporary city built and removed on a schedule. Crates rolling across loading docks, booths rising from an empty floor, miles of cable being taped down, food arriving for thousands of people, and crews tearing the whole thing apart so the next group can move in. The tourism authority's commissioned analysis estimated that the average convention visitors spent about $1,795 per trip, roughly 46% more than the average leisure visitor. That is an estimate based on visitor research, not a receipt from every person wearing a badge, but the strategic value is clear. A visitor who fills a Tuesday room and spends across several departments may be more useful to the system than one more leisure traveler arriving on a Saturday that was already going to sell out. The convention center is only one part of that effort. Concerts fill certain weekends. Sports create scheduled demand. Large events give people a deadline for making the trip. Restaurants and shows raise the amount a visitor can spend after arriving. Every new attraction is competing for attention, but it is also trying to place demand on a particular square of the calendar. And then the guest receives the hotel bill. Part of that bill is room tax. Room taxes are the primary source of revenue for the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. That money helps fund destination marketing, convention facilities, debt obligations, and visitor infrastructure. A room tax increase also supported the public contribution toward Allegiant Stadium, while the private stadium company remained responsible for costs beyond that public amount. The net value of any stadium or major event can be debated. Some visitors may be genuinely new. Some spending may simply move from one part of the city to another. A packed venue does not automatically prove that the entire region gained by the full cost of the project. But the loop itself is not complicated. A visitor pays for a room. Part of the payment supports the machinery used to attract future visitors. The current guest helps finance the next convention, the next marketing campaign, the next event, and the next reason for another person to occupy that room. And this is where the map matters. The famous strip is not inside the incorporated city of Las Vegas. It sits in unincorporated Clark County. The county provides many of the services people normally associate with a city, including fire protection, public works, inspections, and other regional functions. The airport is a county asset. The convention authority is a separate public institution. Private companies operate the resorts. Separate real estate companies own some of the buildings. No single mayor, casino company, or landlord controls the entire system. One organization brings in tax revenue. Another maintains roads or public facilities. Another owns the land. Another leases the property. Another sells the room. Another schedules the event. They are separate, but they are all exposed to the same empty Tuesday. That is what holds the destination together economically, not common ownership, common dependence. That loop only works if the person can reach Las Vegas in the first place. Harry Reid International Airport handled a record 58.4 million passenger movements in 2024 and nearly 55 million in 25. Those counts include arrivals, departures, local residents, and repeat trips. They are not the same as unique tourists, but they show the physical scale of the intake system. Tens of millions of passenger movements have to pass through one airport beside the resort corridor. Bags come off the belts. Cars fill the pickup lanes. Hotel lobbies absorb the arrivals. Then, several days later, the process reverses and starts again. The airport is not simply near the Las Vegas economy, it feeds it. A resort can build another restaurant. A venue can add another show. A hotel can open another tower. None of that capacity matters if flights become too expensive, schedules become inconvenient, or the visitor decides the trip is no longer worth making, and even when the guest arrives, the resort collecting the money may not own the building. Some of the most famous properties in Las Vegas are owned by real estate companies and leased to the businesses operating the hotels and casinos. VICI Properties, for example, owns the real estate beneath properties including Caesars Palace Las Vegas, MGM Grand, and the Venetian, while operating companies run the customer-facing businesses under long-term leases. The company taking the reservation can be paying rent on the room. That changes the picture because rent does not care whether Tuesday was busy. Neither does interest, neither does depreciation, insurance, security, maintenance, payroll, energy, or the constant renovation required in a city where customers expect the next property to look newer than the last one. In fiscal 2025, the major strip aggregate reported about $21.1 billion in revenue. It also reported more than $2.2 billion in interest expense, hundreds of millions in rent, and roughly $1.7 billion in depreciation and amortization. After the full mix of reported expenses, the aggregate showed about $154 million in net income before federal income taxes and extraordinary items. That is not the universal profit margin of a Las Vegas resort. The report combines specific licensees with different leases, financing structures, ownership arrangements, and accounting treatment. Some properties and operators are highly profitable. What the numbers show is simpler. Enormous revenue can sit on top of enormous obligations. The room may be profitable once a guest is inside it. The building around that room may still be carrying billions of dollars in construction cost, debt, rent, maintenance, and future renovation. The lights can be bright while the financial room for error is small. Now look at what happened in 2025. Strip gaming win reached roughly $8.23 billion, slightly above the year before. By the most visible measure, the casino business had set another record. At the same time, total visitation fell about 7.5%. Visitor spending fell about 7.8%. Airport traffic weakened. Hotel occupancy declined. The casino headline said, record. The hotel corridor said fewer people. Both were true. Fewer visitors can gamble more per person. Higher spending travelers can offset some lost volume. A strong period at the tables can lift the annual result. Casinos serving local customers can move differently from destination properties. Gaming can remain resilient while hotel workers, restaurants, retailers, convention businesses, and other visitor-dependent operations feel a slowdown. This is the visible sign of success that can fool almost everyone watching from the outside. Gaming win is important, but it is not a complete health report for Las Vegas. A record at the tables does not fill an empty room, and this is where the deeper economics finally comes together. Las Vegas is not simply selling gambling, rooms, conventions, concerts, food, shopping, and sports as unrelated products. It is selling occupied time. The room expires at midnight. The restaurant seat disappears after dinner. The arena date passes whether the ticket was sold or not. The employee shift cannot be stored. The aircraft seat takes off empty. Every part of the system is trying to place a person in a particular space at a particular moment, and then give that person several reasons to spend before the moment is gone. Las Vegas is selling a full calendar. The casino floor is one powerful reason to arrive and one powerful place to collect money. The convention center protects Tuesday. The concert protects Friday. The game creates a weekend. The restaurant raises the value of the room. The airport delivers the customer. The room tax helps finance the next reason to come. The city's greatest strength is that all of those pieces reinforce one another. In 2025, visitors were estimated to have spent about $50.8 billion directly across the destination. That is not resort profit, and it is not money collected by one government. It is the combined spending that moved through rooms, meals, transportation, entertainment, retail, gaming, and other parts of the trip. The broader modeled economic impact was larger, but the direct number is enough to show the scale. Las Vegas has built a system capable of pulling tens of billions of outside dollars into one valley. It is also the reason a disruption can spread so quickly. In 2019, Las Vegas welcomed roughly 42.5 million visitors. In 2020, that number fell to about 19 million. The room we have been following did not become less luxurious. The bed was still there. The building did not disappear. The restaurant kitchen still existed. The convention hall still had a roof. The airport still had runways. The person was gone. Hotel towers closed. Convention floors sat empty. Shows stopped. Airport gates went quiet. Restaurants lost customers. Drivers lost fares. Stage crews lost events. Housekeepers lost rooms to clean. In April of 2020, Unemployment in the Las Vegas metropolitan area reached 33.5%, the highest rate among large American metropolitan areas at the time. That was an extraordinary shock, not a normal forecast. But it exposed the city's dependency with brutal clarity. When one Tuesday room stayed empty, one hotel lost one sale. When tens of thousands of rooms stayed empty across the city, the loss moved outward. The housekeeper lost hours. The restaurant ordered less food. The supplier lost the order. The driver stayed parked. The room tax disappeared. The public authorities still had debt and responsibilities. The operator still had rent. The real estate still had to be maintained. The same concentration that makes Las Vegas powerful makes it vulnerable. When visitors arrive in enormous numbers, one compact corridor can support restaurants, venues, retailers, casinos, public facilities, and hundreds of thousands of jobs. When the flow stops, those same connections carry the damage through the valley. Las Vegas did recover. Resorts reopened, flights returned, events expanded. New venues created new reasons to travel. By 2024, visitor volume was close to its pre-pandemic level. But recovery does not remove the condition underneath it. The city works only when several promises remain true at the same time. The trip has to feel reachable. Las Vegas depends on national and international visitors at a scale the local population cannot replace. If flights become too expensive or inconvenient, the room does not know why it stayed empty. It only knows the night is gone. The trip also has to feel worth the total price. A resort can raise room rates, fees, parking, food prices, and ticket prices to earn more from each person. That can protect revenue when visitor counts soften, push too far, and the customer shortens the stay, skips the show, eats elsewhere, or decides not to come. Then the city has to keep creating reasons without confusing expensive spectacle with useful demand. A packed arena is valuable if it brings an additional visitor, extends a stay, or fills a week date. It is less valuable if the same person would have come anyway and simply moves spending from one building to another. The properties themselves have to remain worth visiting. A resort built around spectacle cannot age quietly. Rooms wear out, restaurants lose attention, technology changes, convention clients expect modern facilities. The property that once stopped traffic can become the building people pass on the way to something newer. Reinvestment protects demand, but it also creates another cost that future visitors must support. And the people doing the work have to remain close enough, housed well enough, and numerous enough to operate the system. Tourism directly supported an estimated 250,000 jobs in southern Nevada in 2025. Those jobs include the person making the bed, repairing the elevator, cooking the meal, moving the luggage, installing the exhibit, driving the guest, cleaning the venue, and keeping the lights on after the crowd leaves. The city can advertise a room. Only a worker can make it ready. Under all of this sits the physical reality of the desert. Southern Nevada receives about 90% of its water from the Colorado River, a system under long-term drought and shortage pressure. The visible fountains make resorts look like the obvious center of the water problem, but resorts account for roughly 7% of community water use. Homes and apartments account for nearly 60%. Much of the water used indoors is treated and returned to Lake Mead, while outdoor water is more likely to disappear through evaporation. That does not make water irrelevant, and it does not make the long-term problem solved. It means the visible symbol is not the whole mechanism. Las Vegas has become very good at moving visitors through buildings. It still has to support the workers and residents who live around those buildings in one of the driest major metropolitan areas in the country. Now go back one last time to the Tuesday room. In the successful version, an aircraft lands. The guest steps into the terminal, checks in, attends a convention, buys dinner, sees a show, and perhaps gambles before going upstairs. The hotel earns room revenue. Several businesses earn from the same trip. A worker receives a shift. Room tax supports the next round of demand. The room is cleaned in the morning and sold again. In the week version, the flight is too expensive, the event calendar is thin, or the total price of the trip stops feeling worth it. The room stays empty. Nothing dramatic happens inside it. The television remains off. The towels remain folded. The loss is quiet, but the night cannot be recovered. That is the economics of Las Vegas. The famous part is the casino chip. The durable part is the system built around getting a person into a room on the correct night and giving that person enough reasons to keep spending before the clock runs out. Las Vegas does not make its money because the lights are bright. The lights stay bright because the calendar is full.